You guys got right on it, didn't you?
It's been for discussion for a while.
It doesn't cost less to do business here for the cost of the services to do it here than anywhere else. In some cases, a little more. A couple of these look like a big jump, but you gotta get that seepage trench right. Correct? And gotta get
Well, and I'm sure we'll delve into it more, but there's a lot of history with the onsite program, with it being at the state and intermittent, someone would be here 1 or 2 days a month. And the level, I would like to think that the level of service that the onsite program has now is more than worth it. At the same time, the onsite program travels just as far to other jurisdictions as it does to the south end. And it's not cheaper to travel in Harney County. Our fuel is actually more expensive than any other jurisdiction I've been to. So it's, and it would be nice to be consistent with everyone else around us. The states are, the state is revising their surcharge fee, and it's increasing.
They've had a lot of increases at the state level.
how often do they do that generally?
Not very often. When I started in 17, the fees at DEQ at the state level were the same then as they are now. They're just increasing their surcharge fee this year. So I don't know how often they're gonna do that, but the state's also trying to get individual jurisdictions to take their onsite program. So they don't have the staff load at the state office that they need.
Well, since you've been doing it, I mean, this customer service has gone way up. People have been very complimentary.
All right, good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, March 20th, 2024 at 10 a.m. Thank you for joining us for Harney County Court. If you'll stand, please, and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. So we took care of accounts payable, voucher approval. Any late items? We'll add discussion. For late item, we'll add discussion for site.
The onsite program.
Yeah, on-site program. Yeah, there's no, I'm trying to say. Environmental services, right? So on-site.
Yeah, onsite program fee schedule.
So for discussion, we need to update our fee schedule, and that will consist of updating or amending the ordinance. So we'll definitely have to have a little more time than today to do that. So late item for that. Anything else? Late item? Agenda approval from today's agenda with that one addition already.
I move to approve today's agenda with that additional item.
Second.
Motion's been made, seconded to approve today's agenda. Any further discussion? And all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Minutes approval from the previous county court session, which was March 4th.
I move to approve the Harney County Court meeting minutes of March 4th, 2024.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the March 4th, 2024 minutes. Any further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries. Next topic is opportunity for public comment. please.
First of all, I noticed SEAC is, information, they're starting the ADA, which will go all summer long on Highway 20. But they weren't supposed to start that, according to our information, until April. So they should probably be done in October, which would be nice. Secondly, if you saw the governor, I'm not going to respond to the request that they had on SEAC about the tolling, because it's all postponed until the 25 legislative session. So I will not be giving you a copy of my response.
I had a gentleman this morning come in, was concerned about the ADA accessible work that's being done. So I was gonna try and get a schematic or something of what that looks like when they're done, so that when people ask, because right now people view it, there's driveway cutouts that people figure are accessible, but I know these are gonna go further out. People are concerned of, really, that because of the work, the way it looks, it's going so far out into the lane, that the lanes are being reduced down to 2 lanes with a turn lane is what they're concerned with, because it looks like they're encroaching on that 1 lane so much. So I was going to see if I could find some schematics or something to show people what it'll look like.
We should be able to get some on the 28th when we're done day. So
Rick, if you were gonna make your comments about the tolling, what would you generally say? What's your view?
it's my view on tolling. I'm negative on tolling. Because I can see that being on Highway 20 real easy between us and Burns, or Bend. And if you read any of the notes on them, it said for further Oregon highway improvements. It wasn't just for the Portland area. So I think tolling is a bad idea. Having spent a month on the East Coast last year. It's crazy. It's just crazy.
Thank
So
you.
anyhow, I do not feel like it's a positive. I think we need to be looking at different transportation fundings, maybe some kind of tax on the, equal to a gas tax that we put onto the charging stations. Anybody right now from out of state, it's free. You got an electric car and you come into Oregon, you're free. Because there's no charge on any electricity that you use to charge your vehicle. So we are paying for all out of state people coming in. I think we need to do a serious look at that, and I think we'll be able to get that up. Maybe some of that look on the main meeting in Ontario, the Oregon Transportation Commission, of which I plan to go and stay overnight and listen.
Yeah.
I think I can listen.
I think, not opponent or proponent, not, in favor or not in favor of it either way, but I think what they're trying to do is trying to figure out a way to capture that out-of-state traffic. Whereas tolling would capture fees on any vehicle, whether it's local or out of state. But I agree, it'll turn into a mess, probably the accounting and everything else on it, and just the management of it itself.
Oh, the governor said the management costs appear to be greater than the income.
Yeah.
So why are we doing it? Well, that is a state problem.
Any other public comment?
I just have a couple of questions if I could.
Just state your name for the record, please.
Keith Belzor, I'm sorry.
That's right.
And it was brought up, Kristen brought up, actually, we were at the community-based water collaborative 2 nights ago. And anyway, there were issues we're talking about or whatever. I'm not necessarily here to talk about those, but she brought to our attention that court policy, the way the court policy is, and then having the ability or having the need to sign off on whatever the plan is going to be, you folks would need to do that. But I would just like some clarification on if the county policy, as it was stated there, if it aligns with Farm Bureau policy, and if Farm Bureau policy is against any individual thing, then the court would not sign off on it. And I'm wondering, is that policy, written policy, And if so, why?
It's a verbal policy that we've generally aligned with State Farm in any of our actions that we've taken with state, which, as you know, community-based water planning is a function of the state. I don't know a time Harney County's ever gone against Farm Bureau's.
I've never
policies that
heard,
They have.
I mean, at least in the time I've been on, I have not heard a county court discussion where we were deliberating on something to take a position or to support or oppose something. And in that conversation, it was mentioned that Farm Bureau, I mean, it was never brought into the discussion at the court level, but in the time I've been on the court. So it might have been,
Some bills that we've discussed at the legislative level, you know, that we've signed on as OCA, Farm Bureau, and Harney County multiple times since I've been commissioner.
So it's not written policy, it's just basically the way.
It's just something that we intended to do, yes.
Okay, if I could have just a few more minutes, the specific item that came up, and I'm not here to try to get your support on it or anything else. The specific item that came up was, we had a working group on the collaborative, and we came up with issues that we think need to, excuse me, be addressed. So we came up with those issues, and then we tried to come up with solutions. And one of the issues was the illegal water use, the intentional illegal water use that's going on in the county. And one of the solutions was to fly drones. So we have the water master have the ability to fly drones in legal airspace to help them monitor and do their job more efficiently and cost effectively. And Farm Bureau is not against the use of drones in agriculture, but the way I understand their position, they are against the use of drones because of privacy issues. So where I come down is airspace, and this is open airspace. Somebody can go out there with a plane and to any of the places the drone would be flown, can fly all day long, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it.
I know,
So, it just, I don't want anybody to get me wrong, I have nothing against Farm Bureau, I've been a member for years, and they do a lot of good work. A lot of people around here, Rusty and the office, they do a lot of really good work, and we appreciate that. But
It
With
it
that
was a
being said-
discussion at I attended their Farm Bureau meeting on Wednesday, and that item did get discussed, and they were very much in opposition to it being supported in that realm. And so those are stakeholders in our community that I brought back their voice into that room. And that's where I'm gonna continue to diverge on supporting that as an action for the water master to pursue.
that's fine, but my point is, that is what they think about the issue. There are a lot of other stakeholders that think differently, and anything we can do to get rid of any illegal use and more efficiently use the limited amount of water we have, I think is a good idea. And it's,
So once again,
it's
it's a
just a
function of the
second,
state.
just a second. It's airspace, so.
but there is some other concerns there. It's just like law enforcement in search warrants and investigations. Drones are a new technology, but before that, it would have been airplanes, fixed wing or rotor wing aircraft. And there is some legal considerations there as far as a government entity using, I'm not familiar with it right now, I couldn't quote it, but I know I've read in the past, there are some legal issues with viewing a person's property from above. So we'd have to definitely look into that as far as the legal.
Those are, and on police agencies, the laws and rules are far more stringent than it is on the general public.
It's not just police, though, government.
They have to have, if they're gonna apply that to investigate a crime, they have to have a probable cause and get a warrant before they can fly. And I know that for a fact. They can't just do it willy-nilly.
Yeah. But the same restrictions come upon because it's not, when the Constitution and everything says government, it doesn't refer to just law enforcement, it's the government itself. So those same restrictions would apply on the water master who is a government entity, just like it would for law enforcement.
So Soil and Water Conservation District, which is a state agency, has a drone that they use all the time. On, my brother-in-law, Scott Franklin, is on that board. They have a drone that they fly all the time on public and private land to do their work and projects, and there's not an issue with it according to him.
What's their intent or their use with the drone?
They
Is
can
it
do all
for-
kinds of things. They can map fires. If the fire is on public and private, they can map the entire fire. They can look at projects. Just whatever they need to do is, as long as it's work related, and that they follow and I'm not a lawyer, but I did read the law on drones. There has to be a certain certification in order to fly the drone, and then everything else is about elevation and line of sight with the drone and all of those things. But anyway, that's a state agency right there in this county that's using it, and there hasn't been an issue. So it looks like we can do it over here, but we can't do it over here.
Well, the intent for the water master to be using it would be an investigative tool in determining a violation, a crime, whereas what I'm seeing, I don't know all the use that you're referring to by the other entity, but that is more of a research, well, not even a research, but a
But there's-
planning tool or for different purposes. It's not punitive or
And there's MOUs in place with those federal agencies as well as those private landowners for the soil and water conservation work to go in and do that work. And so there's approval of all parties where you and I both know that the water master currently has to make contact with the landowners. It's a private property issue. And I don't feel like it's the disposition of this court to weigh in on the water master's job to that level. That is something that they are going to have to do. We are supporting the water master doing his job in community-based water planning. But the language that the group settled on was that they were to use tools and technology, which then comes back to the water master of the state figuring out what those appropriate tools and technology are, but that is not a function of the county. And that's where I'm gonna leave the discussion at that.
But where I'm going with that, Kristen, is
Keith,
if it's,
Keith, this is a community-based water planning
no,
part that we have discussed in the community-based water planning effort. And as we went around the room that night, everybody said that they were comfortable with the language that had been proposed. So where are you wanting to really take that? That, like, say, this is public comment time.
this, I was just getting ready to say, this is a public comment time. If we want to delve into this further, it would be better off if we put it on the agenda as a topic.
that would be fine.
But
And then-
that's
and then
still what
discuss.
those community-based water planning functions are. All the members of the court going to come and get themselves up to speed on that, not just a video of what occurred.
I'm not here to talk about the community-based water planning. That was the
That's your
issue that
part.
came up. No, I'm not. What I'm here to talk about is I would rather see the three members of the court look at these things individually and represent all of the people instead of saying, this is what Farm Bureau thinks, so that's the way we're going, and that's all I'm asking for. Water Master has the right, they can make a call and say that they want to go on somebody's property and go there physically, walk ditches, do whatever they want, as long as they make the contact. What is the difference between that and saying, we're gonna fly a drone tomorrow? We're short on time, we're short on staff, we're gonna fly a drone so we can do it in a fraction of the time.
And myself personally wouldn't say I'm against the use of drones for that purpose or whatever. What I am saying though is we would need to get a legal opinion on that to make sure that everybody, whoever's using it, whether it's the water master or whoever, that it's being used appropriately. It's really like.
It has to be completely within bounds of law.
Yeah.
Yes, so anyway, that's all I had. I thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, not seeing any. We have no old business to take care of, new business. First item is, years of service recognition to Melinda Moffitt. 15 years, recognizing 15 years of service with Harney County. I always like to make sure that it's on the record, we're recognizing it, it's on the record, and we part of the minutes, and then later on I'll go out, we have a small trinkets that we hand deliver, or I like to hand deliver them to the individual and express our gratitude as well. But publicly, in this forum, we thank the people of Harney County, and especially those that meet these or reach these milestones.
Thank you. Congratulations to Melinda.
Next item is resolution 2024-09, building official. Resolution 2024-09, in the matter of a resolution to appoint Rick Stoffer as the Harney County Building Official. Whereas Harney County has a building inspection program delegated in accordance with ORS 455.148, and whereas Rick Stoffer is certified by the state of Oregon as a building official, and whereas Rick Stoffer is employed by Harney County as a building official, now therefore be it resolved, the Harney County Court hereby appoints Rick Stoffer as building official to administer and enforce the building code program in Harney County in accordance with ORS 455.148, section 3A. Discussion. Any discussion? Thank you, sir. First off, I would say,
Absolutely.
for those who don't know, Rick is a new employee of Harney County that we just started 3 days ago. We're glad to have him aboard. I look forward to working with him and, growing our building program. It's, Director McMullen, planning, community planning, and everyone's goal to create more of a one-stop shop and be able to do more things in-house here in Harney County, and Rick will be able to facilitate a lot of those roles with his certifications and hopefully continued certifications that will even make us more functional here in Harney County for this program. So we thank you for coming aboard, and
so this will be great because Rick will be able to handle a lot of the commercial side of things, which we relied on the state for. And that's why this resolution is being done, is to just clarify that starting now, at least up to all the certifications you do have, we'll be doing it here at the
Yes.
county level. And that means we'll be able to retain quite a bit of the fee for the county and not to the state. So that's good economically, but most of all, I'm excited about how I think you'll be able to bring a lot of great customer service to any of the people who are building these projects and these homes and these stores and other commercial kinds of things, so.
And we've already started streamlining processes, looking at forms, trying to make things easier for customers to come in. We're gonna change our hours, make it a little bit more amenable to contractors that come in early in the mornings to get things rather than afternoon. So I appreciate the opportunity and look forward to working with everybody.
I did visit with Commissioner Kelly Minty from Klamath the other day, and she said you do come highly recommended, so.
Yeah, she didn't want me to leave.
No, that's what she said, so I think that's a good sign for us.
And we're still working with Klamath County. We're gonna create an IGA with Klamath County so that I can continue to be their A-level plumbing inspector. We can bring those funds here. So that we were Eastern Oregon counties teaming up together to work together.
No, which is awesome, it mimics some of the work that, everything's been able to do with contracting with other counties. I think as we try to look at that model, is where it's possible, I think it's a benefit for all of us as a county.
Yeah, and Jesse's been a great help. There's a really good team down there that is focused on helping the citizens, and I think that's the biggest step in the right direction. So.
Very good. Well, feel free to ask to be on our agenda anytime you want to give an update,
Okay.
because sometimes that's one of the main ways the public hears about something is if the newspaper looks at our unapproved minutes sometimes and writes a little bit, but otherwise we don't have a lot of coverage on things.
And
So,
we get busy down there too. Feel free to tell us you want us on the agenda.
Okay.
Invite us up. We're happy to
Sounds
come up anytime.
very good.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2024-09 in matter of a resolution to appoint Rick Stoffer as the Harney County Building Official as read.
I second.
a motion's been made regarding resolution 2024-09 in the matter of a resolution to appoint Rick Stoffer as the Harney County Building Official. Any further discussion? So I noticed a couple of errors on this copy. See, Holly has gone to, she just sent it to the printer. We'll have a fresh copy here in just a second. Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. I'm gonna insert because they're kind of co-related. The, on-site fee topic that was added, so we'll just insert that in between. Mr. Stopper's appointment and item C, so this will be little item C. So since we're there, we have the topic of fees. I know, Mr. Stopper had come in this morning and talked about increasing some building inspection fees and whatnot. So this will all get taken care of at the same time with your fee schedule, proposed fee schedule that you just gave to us. And then we'll work on getting the stuff that you've requested to be done as well. But specifically on this one,
So a little bit of history, the fees for Harney County have not been adjusted for the on-site program since before 2015. So we're still operating on that fee, that old fee schedule. The most significant increase to the current fees would be for a site evaluation. That will increase, I'm not gonna say double, but it's a significant increase. And same thing for a new construction permit for a septic system for a new home. So that one will also go up, and they will be the same as the state fees as they are today. In addition to that, the Oregon DEQ surcharge is increasing as well, and so that's reflected in here. That is a fee that Harney County, for every permit we issue, the state DEQ office gets, currently $100, soon to be $117 for every permit we issue. But in addition to that, it's just as expensive to run the on-site program for Harney County as it is for Grant and Wheeler County, and they are on the state fee schedule. So it would be nice to have everything consistent across the board between the three jurisdictions. And again, it's cost the same amount whether I drive down to Fields or go to John Day or also.
So this was for information today?
yes. Yes, it will take some editing of the ordinance to update those fees in the ordinance, and then we'll have the ordinance before the court for approval.
But you said the ordinance could encompass both of the fee schedule changes.
It does encompass, the fee schedule encompasses the clerk's fees, all fees, all county fees. It's all contained in one ordinance.
Well, I appreciate
actually,
you have to
yeah.
get this done right away.
I think what I'll do is send out an email to anybody that has fees on there and have them review, so if we're gonna do this, we do it all at once.
Yeah, that would be timely.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I had something in real quick?
Sure.
On the information I provided for our fee increase, I included, the structural permit fee in there. We have a change on that. That's an ICC valuation table that's used throughout the state for structural permits. And so I just put that in for informational. It's an April 1st change. Regardless, it's something that we have to move forward with anyway. So I just put it in there for information purposes. So you will see that change April 1st.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, introductions, I know, Holly's been on a couple of other county court sessions already, but introductions, just for those people who may not know. Our new executive assistant to the county court, Holly York, and she is coordinating that putting that ordinance together, so please just coordinate with her,
Yes.
okay? Any other discussion, questions on fees?
Thank you both.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right.
Welcome aboard, Rick, and
Thank
enjoy the nice weather, everybody.
I know, I get to go do a health inspection and then a site evaluation. So I'm gonna go play in the kitchen and then go play in the dirt.
There you go.
It'll be nice.
How is your meeting, your upcoming training session meeting coming along and sites for, the
For the test holes?
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
so, that's scheduled, so it's a two-part session. The first one is virtual for, classroom type situation. And then the test holes, I'm still working to locate a few different locations. I've called and made, let the real estate agents know in town, and pretty much anybody, if you have a site that's gonna be hard to look at, give us a call, we'll get it scheduled, get you on the list, and that would be the perfect time, because there's gonna be a bunch of great minds with a very large skill set and very, very much so specialized when looking at the site evaluations and the test holes for any property. And so I've been working with a few of the realtors to identify some locations that are more challenging than other areas. And I'm still looking at a couple of possible county properties, just in case, that are out more towards South Harney, Penny and Newton areas. So still looking.
Great, thank you.
I'm hoping to have all that nailed down by the 1st of May.
When is the class, when is the session?
The 19th and 20th, I believe, of May.
Oh,
I have it on my calendar. I didn't bring the dates, but
mid-May,
mid-May, the week before graduation.
okay.
Cause they're like, oh, we're into graduation weekend. I was like, no, you're not. I won't be there.
What are the new hours?
We haven't got them down in, but we will post that to everyone. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a request to vacate an alley from David Fox.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that you, sir?
Yes, sir.
Do we have a letter for that? Okay, Mr. Fox lives at 64-268 Vista Avenue in Crane, Oregon.
Yes, sir.
In December of 2023, your house burned down, and you're now looking to replace it with a new dwelling and manufactured home, is that what you're? Unfortunately, the original home site was placed over a platted alleyway between the blocks you own. So you own
Yes.
both pieces, and there's an alleyway running through it.
They won't give me a building permit until it's vacated, so.
Okay. So the process is, after your request here, we'll do up a resolution that, initiates the process. The roadmaster will have to go out and post, a sign, a notice, whatever, at the end of the alleyway. And it has to be there for 30 days, I believe, and then we have a public hearing on it. And then after that is when we'll decide, when we make the determination to vacate or not.
Okay, so we're going about what, another 2 months?
Well, yeah, a month and a half at least. From
So
the,
I won't be able to get a building permit at all until that.
probably, yeah.
Okay, well, my house is already bought, it's sitting down there and I can't do anything with it, so.
Yeah. Well, by statute, we have to.
Well, I understand. Alrighty,
We'll get the process rolling, get started.
so somebody gonna let me know, or how does this work?
Yeah, we'll be in touch. Yeah, you got your phone number on here. We'll be in touch. Like I said, we'll start the resolution to start the process. And then the roadmaster has to go out and post a sign and do an investigation, whatever, make contact with neighbors, see what kind of impact it would be if there's no issues. I mean, I don't know, are you at the end of a block or the middle of a block or?
No,
It's on the map. It's this one right
It's
here.
right along.
This is the main road, the Crane.
Okay.
So this is 800 and this is 900, and so there must be an alley that lies right there.
Okay, so there's an access on either side of it. Yeah, we'll have to look at the plat map and see how that, it looks like what I'm looking at is just that one little strip of an alley.
yeah, it runs right through where the old house was at. That's why they won't give me a building.
Maybe about established trees in that area still,
Yeah,
and everything, you know, I mean, I go by all the
Sewer,
time.
water, plumbing, everything right there.
Yeah. Well, we'll, it doesn't,
Mostly just fulfilling the statute
Yeah.
requirements would be our biggest roadblock of proceeding, so. I think it's one of those, if we needed to do a resolution before the next county court meeting, I'd be more than happy to meet and just address that one issue to get.
get it started a little sooner.
Yeah,
We can do
which
that.
would speed it up 2 weeks at least.
Yeah, anything would help.
Yeah, so you can get your home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then we could see if there's anything by emergency within the statute where the roadmaster can make an early determination.
I will reach out to county council and find out if there's any emergency clause that we can use.
Yeah,
utilize.
especially with the replacement of a home and this situation.
okay, so somebody will get a hold of me that way and get a building permit.
Yeah, once it's officially vacated, then you should be able to get your building permit. So like I say, we'll move it along as fast as we possibly can, but I'm gonna venture, well, unless there's an emergency clause, I'm gonna venture.
Yeah,
to
we
say it's
aren't
gonna be at least
familiar with
30
that,
days.
so
Yeah,
we'll do what we can that way.
all right, well, thank you very much.
You bet. Have a good day, sir.
See ya.
I don't think we have anything else on our regular schedule. So let's, well, just schedule meetings, I guess we'll go ahead and finish on through with this. We do have at 11 o'clock, a public meeting for the Move the Oregon Border requirement. Until it's either approved, whatever, by the voters to amend the ordinance and remove the requirement for these, every 4-month meetings, we still have to continue on. So this month is one of the prescribed months for the meetings, and we'll do that at 11 o'clock. We've got plenty of time. We can run through the rest of this and maybe recess for a little bit and start that at 11. So scheduled meetings, regular county court. These will be April 3rd and April 17th. Same times, 9:30 for accounts payable, 10 o'clock for regular session. Any other meetings that you'd like to have listed on the agenda for notification?
It looks like we have a 2 o'clock public work session today around contracts, is that correct?
Ooh, today?
That's what I have.
I missed that in my calendar. I have a hard stop today at 12:30, but we'll go till 4.
I don't
I
mind,
didn't get it in my calendar.
I just write it down at meetings, I don't have it any particular,
I think
it's from you guys.
I think it's on the county, the website calendar,
Okay.
but,
Is there,
If we could send those out as a
there's an
actual
invite.
calendar invite,
Calendar.
that would be easier for me, because if it doesn't get logged in my calendar, I tend to miss it.
A lot of these last few work sessions were scheduled when we still didn't have Holly on board yet,
Correct,
so
yeah.
we're still trying to get back in the swing of things.
so what is the nature, I mean, in my own opinion, I like work sessions when we need to really talk about something. This was a continuation of talking about county contracts. Is there much to talk about?
There's not really. We're still researching and trying to find county contracts that are due, contracts that would be up for renewal. I mean, I've got a folder in there started on some, but I think there's still some more research to do.
Well, I'm able to, I mean, since it's been publicly noticed and we don't want to cancel it last minute, we can still convene. Commissioner Shellman, be
Yeah, go
excused, just
ahead.
relay anything to us that you want discussed publicly during that. And it can be a short one.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's nothing much, I mean, it's kind of in your court, Judge, since you're the administrator, let us know, or any of us who already know about a couple we need to discuss, but I mean,
So I know originally Commissioner Shellman, you had asked for those work sessions. Was there anything specific in that you
Yeah,
wanted to touch on?
we had talked last year about putting our county insurance agent contract out publicly, because it has never been posted that I could ever find that we reached out and had that advertised as a service that's provided to the county and had any competitive process. So that was one major concern that I raised last year, and you said that this year we would make sure to do that. So that was, definitely one that I had on my radar. I know our vector control contract, we needed to review and get it signed, as other parties from the
And
city
it
are
looks like
waiting
it's
for us
already
to do
on
that.
next meeting's agenda.
So that was one I
Is
needed
that
to make
correct?
sure was.
Excuse me?
You've already put the vector control contract on next county court agenda?
Is it on
Is
the
that
next one?
correct?
Because I thought we might be on this one and then it wasn't, and so I didn't know if there was, some additional work that needed
It's on
done,
next
or
or
if we
something.
needed to line up a presentation from the gentleman.
Oh, you have asphalt bids, power transmission line project presentation, the Three Rivers mosquito and vector.
That
control.
That's the vector.
Yeah,
And will he be presenting?
I have no information except for that sentence.
Okay.
I'll get in touch with him and find out if he's planning on.
Have
It's
you
really
made it?
nice to present, he usually does.
I know, last year, we didn't, expand the contract last year because they wanted to increase treatment area. And the cities of Burns and Hines had to approve it within their councils, which they did. So we're getting into that season again, and it should be a new contract that expands areas, will give them the ability to treat more area.
My main thing is, and we can talk a little about it when we meet, but just the general thing is, once, Holly is able to put together the spreadsheet and everything really well on the contracts, then we should regularly go out for bid, even if we're satisfied with, whoever the incumbent is, every 3 to 5 years, depending on the type of contract.
Yeah.
Just for, transparency, and you never know if there's gonna be, a cost savings or a different type of service that's available.
So, as far as the insurance, representative agent is, last year, we were with Steens Mountain Insurance was our representative agent through CIS. And then, as we know, that individual sold his business to,
I can never recall his name, I don't know why.
yeah,
He's in Mount Airy County.
yeah, can't think of the name.
Show, is it Show?
No,
It's not Blackaby.
No.
anyway,
Lori
so
Gibson.
he's,
Waldo.
Waldo Insurance. And, Evers, Jeremy Evers.
There we go.
He's our representative, but he works for
But he
Waldo.
just got to assume that, and I feel like it's
Yeah.
a publicly transparent process, that shouldn't have just been able to be assumed by.
No, I agree, and, I agree, and, they pay out. I'm not really familiar, quite 100% understand how CIS does this with their representative agents. But they pay out their fee at the beginning of the year to those representative agents. So if we went out now with an RFP, then we'd have to catch somebody that was basically willing to take it on without that payment until the first of next year.
No, those are things we need to, like, say from CIS, we told them last year that we were wanting to look at.
Yeah.
Doing this, and so, probably should be a prorated process instead of just this big one-time deal, because that puts the county in a situation like this, that if we haven't gone out for an open solicitation of said services,
Yeah.
you know.
More research on that one, obviously, because that one might actually fall under, because they're representative agents of CIS. And whereas we are probably not gonna go out, or don't have to go out for a bid and RFP for our actual insurance providers, so I don't know how they're umbrellaed under CIS.
Well, and I know it's in the ballpark of a $30,000 payment, and so
It
it's, significant amount of money for someone to be competing for. And we should, get some presentations on what kind of services each agent provides, and I know that there's been other agents reach out to us, since last year, and so there is interest in that, and we need to make sure that gets pursued.
Okay, so I will, it's part of the contract discussion, I guess.
Yeah, it feeds into that. That was the most timely one that I knew we needed to, get underway. And it's one of those, I don't know if CIS pays out January or April, you know, it's, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's January, or January, February anyway, I believe. And that's why last year, it didn't push through for it last year, because it had already been paid out, and you had to end up finding an agent that would be willing to work the rest of the year without that payment, and then your previous agent takes a full chunk and doesn't continue for the full year.
Since
So,
when is that out there?
Seems like everything should be conversation, whether it's a hard fact or not, we could.
so definitely that's, tracking sheet, an Excel tracking sheet to know when the timelines are for these things and when they should be addressed, because this should, back in October is when we should have probably done this, but with an RFP and time, publication time and everything.
Well, it might be, like Audrey's, explaining that it might not be an RFP, but an RFQ. Where we're looking for qualifications and then it leads to that.
Yeah.
Cause the payment's already predetermined by CIS, and so it's a little different situation than normal services where they're bidding for best deal or,
And in some instances, I mean, they're gonna be mandated, whoever the agent is, they're gonna be mandated by CIS for the services that they have to provide, unless they go above and beyond and gonna provide any other services in addition to what they're.
how often they're here serving us, how often they come and make these, inspections of properties and keeping things updated. I know that we've struggled with having that updated properly with our previous agent. And I want to ensure that we no longer are in that situation moving forward with our agents.
Any other contractual topics?
No, I believe we'll be putting the APHIS contract on the agenda soon. I think they have the new agenda, which will feed into the budget process, where they can come do a short presentation in court regarding it. And so that would be a contract that it's not gonna necessarily feed into,
Yeah, which their fee is going up this year.
it's only constant.
Yeah. Okay, we should be able to then have a short work session and to see where we're at with that then. Any other scheduling?
I just wanted to make public aware that the Forest Service will be, April 17th at the Memorial Building for a, Blues Forest Planning Effort, public engagement meeting, 5 to 8. And encourage the public to attend that. There is the initial draft that's out, of current conditions on the forest to weigh in, for members of the public. And then they'll continue to have meetings, in the community as the forest planning process moves forward. But that meeting is here, in our community, and it would be nice to see them turn out for that. But
Question, are either of you gonna be involved with, on March 28th, a rules advisory committee for statewide fire hazard map? Cause I don't think I'll be there, and I don't know, I think Melinda Todd had sent out an email, that's why I wrote her name by it, in case I needed to go back and look at it at some point, but that's a thing apparently that she's put out an email about, and I didn't know if it's on anyone's radar.
I hadn't scheduled to attend it. That was on what day?
I'm gonna, Thursday, March 28th, 9 to noon. See if I can find it.
We have SEAC that day,
What time?
10 to 1.
Filmmaking advisory. She's just gonna put it out as a. Maybe that's a Zoom one, wait a minute. March 7th.
if it's a rack, they're all Zoom.
Anyway, you all have an email dated March 5th from Miranda Todd that you can look up to see if that's something you need to be aware of.
Starting at 7, first meeting was 7.
Maybe that's, if they're not coming
March
here,
28th and April 18th.
are they
Nine
not?
meeting, they're, yeah,
They're Zoom meetings, okay. All right, that must have been it. They're
Is
not
that the
coming.
one that they had some on-sites and then they had, and then they had 2 Zoom options on different dates?
yeah, it's the work that, Thompson's Baker County Commissioner.
Mark Bennett.
Mark Bennett had been engaged on with the state. It's just been a very ongoing process. They,
Okay, I think that was the only thing, so a lot of scrutiny that I was. There's a DPSST listening tour, stop in Burns on April 2nd at 11. And I made sure to let our law enforcement folks know about it, in case they hadn't been aware. And I believe at least one of them said they're planning to attend.
I had sent that, just FYI, in case thing, just shortly before you did, maybe an hour or so before
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so they,
I mean, it's getting, there's so many whole meetings at the same time now, but in fact, I was at Symmetry Care board meeting yesterday, well, their assistant, she had texted me, she didn't, haven't seen you in a while, is everything okay? She didn't want a personal note, I said, yeah, I said, those,
excuse us, so I don't get paid, Barb.
So,
Trying to.
anyway, yeah, I had just said, no, your last 2 meetings had unusual, one-time, important kind of meetings at the very same time, but and it was legislative session and things happen and, you know.
if you guys, conversations, Bobby, please.
Sorry, I got a little feed kid.
Good luck.
Yeah, so I didn't have anything else to add to meeting schedules. General deliberation. We're obviously in the budget process, this Friday and next Monday. I'll be, meeting with department heads for, their presentations, their proposed budget presentations. And incorporating those into the proposed budget. And, sent out, we've advertised in the newspaper for the budget committee meetings.
So they're all the ones you.
Yeah.
Mentioned to us. You get letters of interest for the budget board?
Just the one from, the existing budget board member, Holly Smith.
And I reached out to the other interested party this morning to, make sure that they were aware that it had been opened, but I didn't see, you did the base timeline.
Is there a deadline?
I think there was.
At the end of April. Okay.
Okay.
And we do need to do, I checked with county council, the information that I was given about not having to do the compensation committee if the elected officials received the same thing that everybody else was receiving. And there was no basis for that. The statute, I mean, I looked at the statute myself, but I ran it by county council and county council said, I don't know where that would come from. I don't see any.
I guess that does.
Yeah, so we do need the 3-member committee as well. And that's all have been advertised, social media and newspaper.
We'll keep stirring.
If people don't come forward to volunteer, then what? I mean, I'm not saying that'll happen, I'm just curious.
So
Well-
have to do a little more legwork.
Yeah, I think if we only have 1 or 2 people, then we go ahead with 1 or 2 people. And have,
Yeah.
that's all you can round up.
There's not a specific number requirement
It says 3 to 5,
through the time, so.
but like a lot of things, if you can only get 1 or 2 people to volunteer, then you go with what, yeah.
So. I wanted to give you guys a little broadband update real quick.
Okay.
Because of, as you saw in my email, I'm sort of disappointed. So Hardin County did apply for the Broadband Technical Assistance Program, BTAP grant, as did many others, and, in the last week, got kind of a memorandum, sort of like an early warning, not that it was final, still had one more review board to go through. But Hardin County wasn't on there, a whole bunch of people, entities, there were way more applicants than, there were 27 applications submitted, 18 were not funded. A large portion were not, but still, I'm still pretty incredulous because of the care of which we did it and followed all the things you get the points for, you know, and how truly, eligible Hardin County is as far as the whole intent of all this stuff. So, you know, I was thinking about it and, you know, we had our COVAT meeting yesterday and talked about a lot of different things. I'll be meeting with Rep Owens today just to kind of update him on this stuff as well. But, yeah, so, you know, we're very disappointed, but because in my view, without assistance, if we can't even get the technical assistance that we need as the type of county we are, you know, I'm not gonna wanna just keep pursuing something that isn't gonna happen. So I know I sound real negative, but I like to say worst case, you know, and, there's a huge, what's apparent is there's a huge need for this technical assistance. There were many applicants across the whole state. And I immediately requested transparency in scoring, and I got a very, unsatisfying wrote reply, email, but I did go on the record and just say, you know, I would like to see Hardin County's, score sheet, and I would also like to, discuss this with you. And they said we won't be discussing this till it's final, of course. So my question will be, you know, what is the plan for getting out? So there was, maybe I can write it down, basically $4.4 million available for that, and they only awarded 1 point something million. So why are they holding back? There's a need, clearly there's a big need. I don't know. So then there was, right at the end of the short session, Oregon Broadband Office did try to put something to, maybe it was a legislative thing, they couldn't do more, I'm not sure, but that's what it sounded like. They put something in, but unfortunately, in the confusion of administration, an earlier draft that talked about funding libraries and not even about this is what the legislature passed instead of what Oregon. So there was a glitch, so I'm hoping that there can be an emergency board, because the two big grants are gonna be due later this year, and if you don't have that technical assistance to get you the engineering plan and everything, you're not gonna, you know, you might as well not apply. And so I'm readjusting my expectations, not giving up, but I'm not gonna be pushing for something if they're not gonna, help out where we're at, because that's what they're supposed to do. So
But you said that they didn't award the full pot of money.
I think due to legislative, I'm not sure what the details are. I have a long email that didn't quite say everything, but it gave more detail. So at any rate, I'll be talking to Rep O's to say if there's an emergency session, can you act one, and can this be a major thing? Because a bunch of places in the state of Oregon are not gonna be able to even get in the game for that money, and that's not what's intended.
Well, I think part of the big criteria was the unserved and underserved locations.
And socially vulnerable, and the places that an internet service provider is not likely to come and want to do business because you don't have enough subscribers. We fit everything. We're the poster child for, I mean, I don't want to be like West Virginia, left behind back in the 1930s and 40s for electricity for 25 years before it ever got to people. You know, that's not right. And again, not doom and gloom, but very disappointing. We'll see.
So were there comparable, because I knew that you sat in on some other counties, similar bats.
Mhm.
Were any of those moved forward in this process thus
I have
far?
to
or-
look, but Deschutes didn't get it. I mean, a whole bunch of entities didn't get anything. And they applied, and I don't know And our particular rural prosperity partners, they wrote 5, and they said they only got 2 awarded, and they weren't the strongest ones. Harnett County was one of the strongest ones, and so that's why they encouraged me to request the scoring sheet, because they don't see why we were maybe 30 points behind winners when every block was checked. So you know, again, I'm sure it's a hard job to award funds and narrow the field and all that, but I'm looking at it from the Harnett County perspective, and just want to keep you updated on that.
Thank you.
Oh, also on the Highway 20, the danger of Highway 20 Buchanan heading west, that some constituent has reached out to us, et cetera, and, you know, see what we can do because about getting some intersection signs along the flat, double striping, at least do that. Can we not facilitate that? Just see what we can do.
I planned on bringing it up to see, finding out what the.
I mean, is that the way to work it? I would think so. I'd like
I'm
to.
gonna start there, if there's nothing that we can do there or whatever, then we'll have to elevate to
Well,
direct to
sometimes
the department or.
it just seems like, I'm sure, if you have to do it the correct way with lots of lengthy safety studies, I know it would take a long time. But if we can agree that these are situations that common sense can say, and if there's some procedure in ODOT to do these matters, it seems like, you know,
We're not the only county sadly in that shoes, you know, as you talk to other commissioners, there's a lot of struggle with their communication with ODOT and being able to get things out of their previously dictated plan of maintenance, you know, move forward.
you're right. I mean, we're just looking at our situation, but to me, if you can save lives, that's more important than any of the other little improvements that eventually will get done.
Yeah, and then the one research that was done, I think, by Rep Owen's staff, the statute does indicate 60 miles an hour for truck traffic from Bend to Ontario.
Which it's not supposed to.
Yeah, there's no double speed sign.
There needs to be quite a bit of additional signage, unfortunately,
Yeah.
but it, you know, if people were very alert and very, safe drivers, some of this would go away, but we still need to do what we can do. Okay,
All right, it is 11 o'clock. And as per the ordinance, we're required to have the move the Oregon border discussion. So county court will recess and we shall begin the public meeting for move the Oregon border. As an opener, many of you should have seen or hope you saw that we passed a resolution during last county court session to amend the county ordinance, removing the requirement to have these three times a year meeting, March, July, and November. And the one in November actually even hits on the day before Thanksgiving. So it's, they're, you know, when whoever thought about those dates just kind of, they don't work that well. But as today, and we have some people online as well, but you know, half a dozen people basically is what we're having for the meetings. If the topic, we're not wanting to get away from the topic, but if need be, we'd rather schedule them as a special separate meeting versus a required meeting 3 times a year. And that's what it'll be on the ballot for the voters of Harnett County to say, yes, we agree that it should be, that requirement should be removed, and then we'll just have them as needed. So I'll start off with that. I don't have any other updates or knowledge on the process of where the move the Oregon border is at. I see Mr. McCarter is online. If he has any updates, or if there are any updates, he would probably be the one to ask. Are you on there, Mike?
I gotcha. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, let me turn up the volume a little bit. Okay, try that.
How's it sound now? Does it sound better?
Did I?
Testing, 1, 2. You know, it's
It's
not
just-
really working well between 2 cans and a string, but
Yeah. Which one is it coming over? Is it coming over the?
you know, first off, I'm gonna apologize to you because I had the wrong date on my calendar of when this meeting was, and I planned on being there in person. And so I scheduled some other things that had to take place, and it bothers me to do it via Zoom. And I'm gonna see if Matt McCaw, who's our official spokesman, is still online. I see his name there. And if he's there, I'll let him take over if I may.
Looks
I
like
am here,
Matt's there.
Mike. Yeah, I am here. Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
You bet.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah. Well, thanks, Mike. Yeah. So it was a mix up. It was my fault. I did not reach out to Holly soon enough. For some reason, I had this on the calendar for next week because Mike really wanted to be there. But we do want to be here just to let you know what's going on with the Greater Idaho Movement in general, statewide, where we're at, and give updates if you commissioners would like to hear that. So this session in the Oregon legislature was a short session. So if you know, or if you remember, in the last year's session in 2022, or 2023, we had the Idaho legislature passed a memorial, the Idaho House passed a memorial inviting the state of Oregon to begin border talks. So the process for moving a state border is that any two state legislatures that border one another can come together and decide to move a border to wherever they think it makes more sense to put that border. So we've been asking people in Eastern Oregon counties over the last 3 years, do you want your elected leaders, your state legislators, to have this conversation and look into making this happen and what that might look like to change the border? We've gone to 12 counties in Eastern Oregon, including Harney County, and all 12 of those counties have passed measures that in some way, shape, or form, and it's been worded slightly differently in each county, but in some way, shape, or form says, yes, we do want our elected leaders to look into this. And we do want to see if moving the border is a possibility that would make sense for our county and for Western Oregon as well. So in 2023, the Idaho legislature, in response to these votes that have been happening in Eastern Oregon, the House passed a memorial inviting the state of Oregon to begin those border talks. That happened last session in Idaho. There was a similar bill that was introduced in the state of Oregon by Senator Linthicum down out of Klamath Falls. That was introduced into the Oregon Senate, but it did not get a hearing. It did not get moved. The Democratic majority in the Oregon Senate didn't want to deal with it. Basically, it was dead on arrival. So that's where we're at legislatively. We did have some progress in this last year. In October, we had our first unofficial meeting of legislators where we had legislators from the state of Idaho and a legislator from Oregon who sat down informally to talk about, what might this look like? Our citizens are clearly saying they want us to explore this. So what might this look like? What's the next steps for this? So that's kind of where we're at. This was a short session in the Oregon legislature this year. And it was very clear that the only things that were going to move in this session were housing related and whatever the Democratic majority, what their priority bills were. There was not a lot of room for other topics like moving the border. So we did not have a memorial that was introduced in the 2024 short session in Oregon, which is now over. But our plan is to be back in the 2025 legislature with memorials inviting the two state legislatures to begin border talks, because that's what the voters of Eastern Oregon are asking for. And it's what they're voting and asking their elected leaders to do. So in the meantime, we have a 13th county in Eastern Oregon that's voting on Greater Idaho, and that's Crook County. That's where I live. And they're asking, voters are being asked a very direct question. Do you want Crook County leaders to let the state know that you want to move the border, that you want to explore moving the borders, that you can be part of Idaho? That vote's happening in May. So we're excited about that in Crook County. And again, that'll be the 13th county to vote. So that's kind of where we're at.
Mr. McCaw, I'm not being familiar with Idaho's processes and memorial. So the House passed the memorial. Did it need to be passed in both houses?
It did. So yeah, so that was passed in the House, and I think it passed like 41-26 or 41-25, somewhere in that ballpark. We actually had the support in the Senate. What we heard from the senators in the Idaho side was that they were not going to prioritize that bill and move that forward in that session until they saw a movement out of the state of Oregon. And so what we walked away from last year's session with was the state of Idaho is ready to have this conversation. They see the value in adding Eastern Oregon counties. They see how it makes sense for Idahoans. They see how it makes sense for Eastern Oregonians. And they see how it makes sense for Western Oregonians. So the Idaho legislature is ready to have this conversation as soon as the Oregon legislature is ready to talk. So that's our challenge. That's what we're working on now, is getting elected leaders in the state of Oregon to get on board, to advocate for what their citizens are saying they want, and move this conversation forward.
So in order for the memorial to be a formal memorial, it'd have to be passed by both houses and then delivered to the state of Oregon?
Yep. Yes. And so that's what we'll go back and we'll be moving that in the 2025 session. Again, this idea has wide support. There's been polling done in the state of Idaho. Idaho citizens support this idea. Eastern Oregonians clearly support this idea. They're passing our measures every time they get a chance to, in pretty strong numbers. The Idaho legislature supports this idea. So there's a lot of momentum. There's a lot of people that want this to move forward. We just got to make progress on the Oregon side of getting the Western Oregon to have the conversation.
Matt, what committee are you hoping to get that assigned to in the long session?
Well, so it was, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember. It was introduced by Senator Linthicum, and it never got put into, I believe, yeah, I believe it was rules or something, I can't remember. And so I'm going to have to just defer a little bit because I can't remember exactly what that happened, what that was that it got assigned to. Again, the Senate president or the House speaker gets to decide which committee they assign it to.
Right.
And so that's kind of out of our control. But basically last session, what happened was the Senate president came out right away and said, we're not touching this. We're not moving it into committee. We're not giving it a hearing, and wouldn't engage. But again, we've made a lot of progress in this 3 years that I've been involved. When I got on board, and Mike was, the founder, and he started this whole thing. When I got on board, there was 2 counties that had passed measures. We didn't have any Eastern Oregon representatives or senators that vocally supported us. Every year that we've done this, more counties have come on board, more elected representatives and senators are coming on board. We have legislation, we have senators and representatives that are willing to sponsor and co-sponsor legislation. Our movement is building, support is building, and we're getting to a point where we believe it's going to be harder and harder for Western Oregon to ignore us.
Well, I think the most important thing that I've learned in working with the legislature is, trying to get it assigned a committee, and so working with whatever potential committee, I was assuming it'd be a rules committee that, working with some of those members, trying to lay some further, groundwork with them and them saying, yes, we'd like to hear this in our committee. If that could ever occur and we could ever get those committee members to start vocalizing that to the Senate president, the chances would potentially go up for us to at least get it assigned to a committee.
Absolutely. And a lot of that, it will be helped along by having our representatives and senators in Eastern Oregon that are advocating for that, advocating for hearings, advocating to have the conversation and start that conversation. And that's where what you guys have done as commissioners in Harney County, where you've already sent a letter up to our elected representatives and asked them, hey, the people in our county they have voted and they said they want you to move this forward, and we want to make sure that we're elevating this issue to you. That is helpful to us because those are the people that we need to be advocating for us at the state level. And so I will also just put out one more thing. One of the things that we're hoping for is that you guys have been very supportive in making sending a letter on up, but we haven't necessarily gotten that across all of Eastern Oregon. So we are asking to get in front of the Eastern Oregon Counties Association and just be able to present and have a conversation with all the commissioners across Eastern Oregon, and talk about how, as a group, you all can help advocate for what voters are saying they want and how we can move this conversation forward.
Matt, I have a question. In addition to the efforts that you've just described that we know you guys do you also try to almost like do the work for the legislators, start writing down the types of things that are different between Idaho and Oregon, whether it has to do with, the water rights and all the various things that would be impacted should there ever be a move of the border. Do you guys start to work on that as well, since sometimes if you don't, nobody else is really going to do anything and people are just going to throw out what they think their assumption is and there's no homework done.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and it's one that comes up often. And so what we've tried to do is we've tried to provide answers or what we feel would be reasonable answers that the two legislatures could decide. And we've got those on our website and at greateridaho.org and our FAQs. The reality is we don't get to have a say in what that would look like. The two state legislatures will decide what that looks like, but we have some starting points and some ideas. So for instance, we're talking about moving 9% of the state population because that's what it is. If you take out Bend and you could move over those 16 counties and partial counties that we're talking about, it's about 9% of the population of the state of Oregon. So we feel like a natural starting point would be 9% of the assets of the state would go with those 9% of the people. 9% of the debt obligation would go with those 9% of people. Now, of course, the two state legislatures are going to, figure that out and talk about that. But that's a starting point that makes sense because these 9% of the population have been paying taxes. They own 9% of those assets. We've been paying them. They're ours as well. So that's one example. There are other issues that we don't have great answers for. I was meeting with a group, the local Crook County Republican group last night, and you get these issues like legalized marijuana. So Idaho does not have legalized marijuana. Idaho does not want to have legalized marijuana. Most of Eastern Oregon didn't want to have legalized marijuana, but it was one of these things that was kind of forced on us by the west side of the state. Now we've got it. Now we've got this problem on our hand that if we convert into the state of Idaho, what happens? People have built businesses, people have planted crops, they make their livelihoods now on this. How do you deal with that? I'm not sure. That's going to be a sticky issue. It's a perfect reason why Greater Idaho should happen and should have happened a long time ago, is because it's the kind of policy that was forced on Eastern Oregon that Eastern Oregon didn't necessarily want. And now it's causing problems, and it will cause problems in the future. But to answer your question, if you go to our website, greateridaho.org, we've tried to put answers to a lot of the frequently asked questions that people have on some of the big topics.
Thank you. Any other comments from members of the public in the room? Tommy, are you still the county captain?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, anything you want to say?
I brought these. It's just some of the information you can go through, pass them around.
Yeah, this is good. This was good information.
It has a website, it has the mailing address for applying through.
I think some of the numbers might be off already on those tax burden. Last I heard, we sadly gotten worse on that one.
as many comments that were made on Facebook. I think more people will be here complaining.
Yeah, just in the, I mean, we just put it out there that we were having a meeting and there wasn't a lot of conversation on social media, so.
Yes, but you know, it boils down to do your research. You know, look at both states, figure out where you fit in. No, none of us really want to move, but we're really tired of getting run over by the West.
I've actually been surprised as I'm from Idaho, and when I go back there, people bring it up to me. And they think there's a little more momentum than we currently have, just due to our, let's say, not being able to get here in the legislature. But there's a lot of Idaho folks that are anxious for some amendment.
Yeah, I need to get with Mark, he keeps promising me, we'll talk about it later. I'm getting tired of waiting till later.
It's been very busy in the session, so that might be better.
This was later than like, last year. Oh, we'll talk about it later. I said, okay, Mark, you got 5 counties that have voted for this, that sit under you. I want to talk about it.
Anybody else online? Any comments? You know, at this point, just like, Matt had outlined, you know, the congression, or the routes for this to take place between the states and then ratified by Congress, et cetera. It's obviously at this point, I mean, there's a lot of discussion going on, there's a lot of preliminary work maybe that's been done, but it's still a long ways off. I guess I would, you know, is there anything, where do we need to go next type of a thing, type of a question, I guess. I mean, because really we're at the mercy of our two state legislatures.
It's basically boils down to the push. You know,
Well, and it comes back to those committee members that sit on rules. If you can't get enough votes from those committee members, it'll never see the light of day. And so, you know, really understanding the makeup of that committee and leaning in on them is the only possible way to get it to have legs, you know, and that's where sadly we have a lot of good bills, you know, that get introduced. This is not the only one that either can't get a committee or can't get through the committee to actually be taken care of. And it's a reason why we're having this discussion is our frustration with those kind of issues.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked real recently, but I think there's at least 3 or maybe 4 people running for state senator to represent, you know, Harney County. So I would think you're reaching out to see where those candidates are on this issue and talking with them. Do you have any?
I have not heard, Mike and Matt do most of the major legwork. Since Harney County as a whole passed for these discussions, I'm kind of sitting on the sideline waiting to be told what's going on.
Well, this is a good time when they're candidates for office to,
Yeah,
they'll take your calls, they'll hear you. So I would suggest that you may want to look their names up on Secretary of State website or wherever, and
There be multiple candidates
for senator,
for women's position.
they're, yeah, unless they withdrew, you know, after I looked at it.
I don't
think
think
there were 3 or 4, and I like, yeah, and they were all Republican. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna be, so I would encourage you, to at least have a conversation with them. See what their questions are, or if they've already taken a stand on it.
Yeah,
I don't know all their names, I only know.
I'll look it up.
Yeah.
And then I'll talk with Matt and Mike.
And again, it's been a couple weeks since I looked, but it's always possible. Someone may have withdrawn or been added since then. I haven't looked super lately, but
Matt, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate what you guys are saying. You're right. We have elections that are coming up, and myself, I've been meeting. You know, I've met with former Representative McLean and who's running for Senator Finley's seat, and reaching out to the candidates, because those are the people that are going to be making the decisions and advocating for us at the state level. And what you all can do as commissioners is just encourage those, what you've already done and continue to do, which is encourage to advocate for our citizens and ask those folks like Senator Finley and Representative Owens, who so far have not taken any kind of an active role in advocating for Greater Idaho, but reaching out to them and letting them know that this is what citizens want them to be doing. They want to at least explore this option. And then just lastly, if there's one of the reasons that we had meetings at the county level for county commissioners was if there are things that are specific to Harney County, if there's issues that Harney County, your residents really want to make sure are addressed and touched on when we get to the next step, then that's where we really need to hear from you as commissioners that represent those folks. So thank you guys for all that you've done so far. And I know you're going to continue to do. And of course, if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me or Mike or Tony is a great resource as well. So I'll stop now. Thanks.
Thank you. So with that, any other discussion?
There are three people who filed for state senator for District 30. And Mike McLean, Douglas Mock, and
Robert Meehan.
yeah.
Are they one Republican and two Democratic?
They're all three Republicans.
All three Republicans. I didn't know that either.
Yeah. They. March 1st and March 5th. This one, the other two files, and it's fairly recent.
Yeah, no, maybe they are, but, okay.
Now I move to adjourn this meeting.
Nothing further? Any further discussion? Motion's been made to adjourn this public meeting. A second?
A second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So carried. And, we
Reconvene to just.
yeah, we'll reconvene back to at 11:25. I'll reconvene our regular county court session for any further conversation. I think we've pretty much covered everything. It's just a matter of any other general deliberation or for the record information. I don't have anything either. So with that then, with no further business, the regular county court session for today will stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you guys for coming.
Yeah, always. How's your leg?
See you on